Good afternoon. This is Empty Pocket Speech. I am Joshua Rash, a speech language pathologist, and today we are going to be talking about S and Z. Some of you already struggle with this sound or had speech for it. When I was a little kid, I actually had a pretty severe lisp. So I myself worked on learning how to say the S in a correct manner. It's a very hard sound. There are actually a couple of ways that we can make it correctly, and a few very common ways that children, as they are growing up, learn to say in a way that isn't exactly the way we want them to say it. Sometimes we call it a lisp. There is an interdental lisp or distortion. That's when the sound is made with the tongue between the teeth, like so. Though if I am talking and I have an interdental lisp, then my speech sounds like this. So that tongue is going right between the teeth. It's not exactly where we want it. Sometimes a lisp can also happen where the sound comes from the corners of the mouth, kind of comes out in a stream that is formed along the cheeks rather than straight down the tongue. So that would sound a little bit more like this, and that sound is definitely not the S that we are looking for. So the way that the S is normally made is one of two different ways. In our mouth, we have a lot of different structures. We have our teeth, we have our tongue, we have the ridge that's right behind the front teeth on the upper part of our mouth. And we have to use all of those correctly in order to make our sounds. As adults, we don't even really think about how we produce our speech sounds. We just kind of do it. It's automatic, it's normal. It's very easy to take it for granted. So what I'd like you to do is practice saying your S and pay attention to where your tongue goes. My tongue goes to the bottom. So the tip of my tongue actually rests right behind my bottom teeth. Some people, actually most people, make their S by taking their tongue tip and putting it right behind their front top teeth. So if you make a T sound, that's where a lot of people make the S. So you may be thinking, oh, that's where I make my S. Or maybe you're like me and you're like, oh no, my tongue tip is at the bottom. Both of those are normal. When we're teaching our kids how to say our S or the Z, we want to teach them to either put their tongue up or to put it down. And often we can do that by basing either off of the way we make the sound, so how we're comfortable with it, or we can do it by seeing how they are trying to make the sound on their own. If they're saying and their tongue tip is down, we're going to want to teach them that tongue tip down method of the S. Another kid who's doing the sound, their tongue isn't at the bottom, it's not at the top, it's right in the middle. So for them, teaching them to keep their teeth closed, putting that tongue tip up might help, or telling them, take that tongue tip, put it down, and try to get that narrow stream of sound. That can be helpful too. So we want to play around with those two and know that either way works, but you just want to be consistent. You don't want to teach them one way and then the next day try to teach them how to do it in another way. That'll be very confusing. A very common approach to teaching the S is also using the T as a starting point. So if you do that, you're already assuming that that tongue is going to be up when we're making that S. So if you have the T, you want to turn that into an S. You can do it by saying and that T becomes that S because you're holding that T, you release it, that's a T, or you can hold that T and keep that airflow going and it kind of becomes an S on its own. And then you have an S. Those are a couple ways you can do it, but I want to encourage you, parents or therapists or students, whoever you may be watching this video, is feel free to play around with it. Parents, you can absolutely work with your kids on these sounds, help them to learn them, One of the best ways to help a kid who is struggling with their S or their Z or any other sound for that instance is to be a good model. A way to do that is to just make sure that you are saying those sounds, and that if you hear them say it incorrectly, then show them how to say it in the correct way. If Sally is saying, "Hi, my name is Thally," you'll want to say, "Yeah, your name is Sally." And then you're going to model that. You're going to give that good example so that your kid can hear how to make that sound. Also, keep in mind that these kids may be struggling with a sound, but most importantly, they want to be heard. They want to hear that you are listening to them, that you care about what they say. So be a good example of making those sounds and showing them how to do it, but also don't overly criticize or tell them to repeat the word over and over and over again. Especially these young children who are just learning the sound for the first time. We want to make sure that they have room for growth, and that we also just encourage and support them along that way. Every kid learns a little bit differently. Some learn it very quickly, others take a little bit longer. They need a little more help. So encouragement, support, those go a very long way in helping these kids out. Whether you're a parent, a student, a therapist, make sure that you are providing that positive encouragement so that your child can learn in a supportive and positive environment. If you've ever been to an IEP, you've probably heard the term visual cue, verbal prompt, model thrown around a lot, especially when it comes to goals. Those are ways that we help provide support and training wheels, in a sense, for these kids, and just helping to teach them so that they can be successful with their sounds and with their goals. I'm going to show you one visual cue that I really like. Kids seem to respond well to it. They don't have to do it, but sometimes it's fun to involve them. So for S, if we want to show that sound visually, a way to do that is by taking one finger, usually use your right hand, and you put it up near your lips. So you're pointing, which is a great way to show a kid that, hey, look here, look at how I'm making this sound. And then you slowly draw a wave with it. It comes out, showing that there's a steady stream of air. We don't want that kid to stop it and make a t sound. That sound continues. So we show it by going s. That air is a nice steady stream that comes out of our mouth. For the Z sound, what we do is we do a similar motion. Take the same finger, put it up close to our lips, and then we show our kid this. We go zzz. So we draw basically a long Z in the air coming out of our mouth. Same thing, it's that stream of air, but it's a little sharper, has a little bit of an edge to it. So we draw that Z to kind of show that the sound is a little harsher than the S. So it's the zzz. So, like I said, kids don't have to do that. You can use that, parents, teachers, clinicians, to show that this is how the sound is made. There are so many different ways to make practicing speech fun. One of the things that I love about S, especially when I work with my kids, is just all the different games that you can play around it. You can do Simon Says, where every time you're saying something, your kid and yourself have to say, Simon says do this. And what a great way to give a model for how that sound is being made. You can also do it in games like Sorry or Snakes and Ladders. You know, there are so many opportunities for that S and the Z. Give them opportunities, give them that encouragement. Next time on Empty Pocket Speech, we are going to be learning about another group of sounds and ways that we can work on those at home or in therapy. I don't have a catchphrase yet. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But until next time, take care.